having the cloudiest day, so the lighting's gonna be a little bit weird, but I'm gonna go ahead and film because nothing I'm talking about today has to be swatched. This video is all about my favorite brushes, and I put off filming this video for a bit because one, I bought a lot of Zoeva brushes in January, and I didn't want to talk about them too quickly because in the past there have been brushes that I liked initially, and then after half a dozen washes, they stopped holding their shape or they started shedding, and I'm glad I gave the Zoeva brushes time to be tested because I have a few favorites that ended up in this video. And the second is that I wasn't sure, I had a few different ideas about how I wanted to do this video. I really want it to be helpful. And then yesterday I woke up and I said, I'm just gonna tell them about the brushes I'm most sad about when they get dirty. So these are the brushes that I think make my makeup go on the best. I'm most happy with the end result. So it's just gonna be kind of simple like that. And then at the end, I'm gonna answer 2 brush related questions that I got, but I'm gonna go ahead and start out with my favorite foundation brushes. For a long time, I used flat top kabuki brushes, but I've realized recently that I actually prefer a rounded shape. And my #1 all-time favorite foundation brush, if everything disappeared, this is the one I would purchase first, is from Furless, and this is their CB2 brush. And I'll go ahead and say that I think Furless is the most underrated brush brand on YouTube. Their brushes are amazing, soft, they wash up incredibly well. I love all that I have. Some I reach for more than others, but they're really just beautiful, beautiful brushes. I believe Furless ships internationally. That's the only thing, is that these are only online, at least here in the States. So if you want something similar that you can pick up in a store, this is from the Target Up and Up brand. It's the only one that I've tried from that line, but it's actually a really good little brush. It doesn't have any name or anything like that. It's similar in size to the Furless one. It's not quite as soft, but it still gives a beautiful finish. This one I use a lot with tinted moisturizers and things like that. So if I'm not using one of these 2 brushes, my other favorite way to apply foundation is with a Beautyblender. And if things are starting to go really wrong, like a foundation is going patchy or sitting weird in my pores, the first thing I do is reach for a Beautyblender, dampen it, and it just covers a multitude of sins and can really like pull me back from like makeup mayhem and start making everything look good again. For concealer, I am obsessed with this brush. It is the 110 Face Shape brush from Zoeva. Technically, I bought this to do contouring, but one day I had gone a little bit overboard with the under eye concealer, which I am known to do, and I grabbed this because it was clean, and I was amazed at how easily it blended my concealer into my foundation. It was seamless, but I didn't lose a lot of coverage from the concealer, which is awesome. So this has become a concealer brush. I have thought about ordering a second one so I can have one for contouring too, but I think so far at least this is my favorite Zoeva brush. And then I also love the Beautyblender Micro Mini. If it's a day where things are especially scary underneath my eyes and I have to use a peach corrector, a concealer, and a brightener, I'll reach for this because it shears things out just enough and it keeps things from looking cakey. So once I'm done with foundation and concealer, setting powder is really important to me because I have such oily skin. So I usually use 2 brushes every day. I first like to go in with a smaller brush. I love the Real Techniques setting brush, and if you don't already own this one, I think it's a great brush because it's multi-purpose. My favorite way of using it is for setting powders, but it's also a really nice size for highlighting as well. So I use this underneath my eyes and in my T-zone to make sure I don't get as oily throughout the day. And then I don't want a ton of powder on my cheeks and forehead, but I want a little bit. That way when I go in with bronzer and blush, everything applies really nicely on top and doesn't go patchy. So I use a little bit of a bigger brush, well, a lot of a bigger brush. This is from Too Faced and it's the Mr. Right brush. This brush is incredible. It's great for setting. I also use it for bronzer a lot of days. So both of these brushes I think are great recommendations because you can use them for more than one thing, which I think is really good, especially if you're building up your brush collection because your money goes a little bit further. Okay, I know that double-ended brushes are kind of annoying because they're difficult to store. However, I have to say that pretty much every time I contour, I reach for this one, which is from Kat Von D. I think it's called the Shade and Light brush, and I love the angle side. I think it fits so nicely underneath my cheekbone and just blends out easily, and then when I'm done contouring, I flip it over and use the more pointed side for highlighter. There are days, especially when I'm going to work, that I don't always take the time to contour, so if it's one of those days, but I still pretty much always highlight. I just like the little bit of life it gives my face. I love this Zoeva one. It's called the 114 Luxe Face Focus Brush. It's a little bit of a paddle shape, so I press it into the product, usually a Becca highlighter, and then I lay it on top of my cheekbone and swipe down and then use little brush strokes to blend it out. It works really nicely and it does add just the right amount of highlight where I'm not going overboard, especially for work. So I love both of those. And then for bronzer, I've tried a lot of bronzer brushes over the years and I always end up going back to this one, which is weird because this is one of the most most shedding, that doesn't make any sense. This is one of the brushes that sheds the most. So if that annoys you, do not listen to this recommendation. But I put up with it because it is the Bobbi Brown bronzer brush. I put up with it because it just, no matter what bronzer I'm using, if it's something from really high end or something from the drugstore, it just goes on so smoothly. It never looks patchy. It's large, so it covers a lot of surface, but it's not so big that I end up ever looking muddy. So it does shed, which is annoying, but it's still a great brush. Speaking of Bobbi Brown, for the longest time, like years, I was a Bobbi Brown blush brush girl, and I just thought that was the best blush brush on the market, and I would never find anything I'd like better. But something from Real Techniques has taken its spot. This is the multitask brush. And I think I like this one better. It's a little bit softer. The Bobbi Brown one was starting to go a little bit scratchy, and I noticed sometimes when I used it, it was causing just a tiny bit of irritation. It's still a good brush, and maybe I just had it for a really long time and washed it so many times. But this one is also a little bit looser, and I tend to buy really pigmented blushes, but I don't always want to look super blush. So this one helps to disperse the product a little bit more, and it blends everything out. And this is one of those brushes, when this is dirty and I have to use something else, I never think my blush looks as good. And then if I'm using a cream blush, which I love, I used to always use the Real Techniques one, and I've just decided that one is a little bit too big sometimes. I still use it, but my favorite is from e.l.f. It's much smaller, it's not as nice quality. This is my second one. The first one, the ferrule, popped off. But this is great for Tata Harper blushes, RMS blushes, the Josie Maran cheek delays. It's small enough that it easily fits inside all of those little pots. I stipple it on and then use a couple little swirl motions to blend it out, and everything looks great. For brows, when I bought the Anastasia Dip Brow Pomade, I bought the brush that they recommended with it, which is the number 12. It's an angle brush on one side and a spoolie on the other. I ended up not really caring for the pomade, but I love this brush. It's been a favorite since day one, and no matter if I'm using my own pomade, which I like the Eco Brow one, or if I'm going in with pencil and powder, this brush is so handy. The angle side is great for running powder through my brows, and no matter what I do, I always use a spoolie just to brush everything through, especially in the front, and it just keeps everything looking a little bit more natural and less drawn on. And for eyes, I have 3 must-have brushes and 3 nice-to-have brushes. For must-haves, if you remember way back when, before I even made YouTube videos and I was just watching them, all anyone talked about on YouTube were Sigma brushes, and I just wanted some so badly. I had like 2 brushes to my name, and they were the ones that would like come with like a Clinique blush, you know, like the tiny little travel things. So I decided to save up for Sigma brushes, and I still remember the day they arrived. I got this, I think it was like a purple set, and it came in this purple almost cylinder, like a travel cylinder, and that was like the greatest day, and I thought, this has completely changed my makeup game. And to this day, I still love Sigma eye brushes. My 2 favorite are the E35. This is the tapered blending. And most days when I'm going to work, all I'll do is I'll use this to lay down a cream color from lash to brow bone. And then if you have hooded eyelids, you know how important or what a big difference it makes to do some kind of matte medium tone crease shade. So I'll take this into whatever shadow I want, and then I start at the outside corner, and then I run it from outside corner to inner a few times just to lay down the product. And then once it's there, I use tiny little circular motions to blend it out. It blends everything out so nicely. I didn't use this today because I wanted to show it to you clean, and I was really sad, and I think it took me a lot longer to do my eye makeup than it normally does. So this is such a good brush. I love it, highly recommend it. And then that's all I'll do usually when I'm going to work, but if I want to take my eye makeup like up one step and make it look a little bit more dimensional, I go with this brush too. This is the Blending E25, also from Sigma. So this is slightly smaller, it's also pinched. This is nice to take a shade, one shade darker. I'll lay it first on the outer portion of my lid, and then I'll blend it into the lower part of my crease, so lower than what I just did. And that's what I did today, and it adds just a little bit more dimension to this outside corner. Both of these work so well. I've washed them a million times and they still look great. And then as far as laying color down on the lid, the best one is the MAC 239. I've never found anything better. I think it's the 239. My number has worn off many years ago. If that's not right, I'll put the right name on the screen. This is so good. Whether you're using a matte shadow or a shimmer shadow, it just lays and packs on a lot of color. So you're really getting true intensity on the lid, which is where I want it. Those 3 brushes are pretty much all I need on a day-to-day basis, but if I ever want to get a little bit fancy, I reach for one of these. If I want to add some extra drama to my outside corner, I love this MAC 221. This I would describe as like a petite crease brush. It lets me add drama to the outside corner, but it's small enough that I can be really precise with placement and things don't get out of control and get a little bit too dramatic. And then if I ever want to smoke out my lower lash line, this is another dual-ended brush, also from Kat Von D. I think they call this the Shade and Light Eye Brush. The pointed pencil brush side is so good for applying color to my lower lash line. I can be really precise with it and just add a tiny bit of shadow, or I can kind of lay it on its side and really smoke it out. So annoying, of course, to store, but still a really good brush. And then this last one is completely unnecessary, but I'll tell you what happens to me most days. I sit at my vanity, I do all my face makeup, I do my eye makeup, I think things are looking great, I put on my mascara, and then when I go back into my bathroom, I think the lighting changes a little bit, it's much brighter in there. And then if I'm brushing my teeth or doing my hair, I'm like, oh, I should have blended more. I think that every time. So I keep another blending brush in my bathroom just so I can go in. This one, I'm not sure the name of, it doesn't say, I don't think it says anything, but it's from NARS. And this is a beautiful brush. And sometimes also if I am like, oh, things are looking really bad, like I've applied way too much shadow or things are looking patchy, this is one of those that it just kind of like works a little bit of a miracle and just smooths everything out and blends it out. So these brushes, why they are unnecessary, they're used a lot and I end up washing them a lot. For liner, depending on what type of product I'm reaching for that day, I'll grab for one of these two brushes. I have found the perfect cream liner brush. It's from Furless and it's the ME4 brush. The reason this is perfect, it's like Goldilocks. It's like not too small, not too big. It's right in the middle and it lets me create the perfect medium line every time. It's also very easy to wing it out if you're into really dramatic wings. Most days, however, I go for a shadow. I use shadow as liner. So since I do it so often, I'm a little bit of a connoisseur. I have very high expectations for my liner brushes. The best angled liner brush that I have tried is from Zoeva. It's the 317 winged liner. I think why I like this so much is that it's a very steep wing and it's also very thin. It's a very thin brush. So if I just want to go in and add some depth to my lash line without it looking like I'm wearing liner, this is the brush I reach for. And then it's also very easy if I do want a little bit more drama. I like to go thin in the inside corner and then really build it up to the outside, and this really helps to create a wing and add just more of like an upturned look to my lids. I'm gonna finish up with two questions, but if you're curious for brush cleaners, my #1 favorite brand is Benjabel, and I love the organic one, the liquid one that comes in the pump. I also like the solid brush cleanser that comes in the tin. Those are fantastic. Those are probably my favorite and be my #1 recommendation. If you want something you just pick up in a store, I like the Sephora Collection one. That one does have some scent to it, which can be a little bit strong. I kind of like it, just depends on your personal preference. But the Sephora one does come with this little silicone pad, which is awesome. It's tiny and you wouldn't think it does that much, but I always run my brushes through it and I just feel like it kind of gives them a little bit more of a deep clean. So I love that. The first question I got asked was recommendations for very inexpensive brushes. And if you couldn't tell from this video, I am a huge fan of Real Techniques. I've had some of those for years and they're still going strong. So you can find Real Techniques. I see them at my grocery store. Ulta is probably the best place to buy them because you can use that $3.50 off coupon on those. But they're really thoughtfully designed brushes. I think a lot of their shapes really make sense and they're holding up really well for me. So that is probably my #1 recommendation. I also recently bought these Wet n Wild ones, which are the pink ones. I haven't had these long enough that I could have included them in this video, but I do think they're really nice and they are so inexpensive. And then I did talk about one e.l.f. brush, but since that, they've come out with some newer shapes. So like I like a round top kabuki brush. So this is a little bit newer to their line. So I would look at, I bought these at Target, but I would also look on e.l.f.com's website. So if you're just starting out and you're looking for some very reasonably priced brushes, Real Techniques, Wet n Wild, and e.l.f. My battery died, which means I've talked for way too long and I'm gonna have to do a lot of editing, but I wanted to get to this last question because I thought it was really good. Somebody asked me on Instagram if I could only recommend 5 types of brushes, what would they be? And I have thought about this for a while and I have made my decision. The first brush I would recommend that I could not be without is a foundation brush. I think this is really important. The second is a brush shaped like the Real Techniques setting brush. Because of its size, it makes it really useful. You could blend out concealer, set your concealer, use this for a highlighter, so you can do a lot of things with one single brush. And then the third brush that I think is incredibly important is a multi-purpose powder brush. So really think about the size of this brush. The Mr. Right is pretty perfect because you can use this to set. It's also amazing for bronzer. I've used it even for blush. And one day I was in a pinch, so I ended up pinching the brush and using this for my highlighter too. So I think this brush would go really far, especially if you have a smaller collection. I can't remember how much I spent on this one, but to me at least, it's been worth every penny. Eyes were a little bit harder. This one I had to think about for a while, and out of all the shadow brushes, I decided to go with something shaped like the E25. So this is a pinched crease brush. Since it's pinched, you can use it to lay down color on your lid. It's not going to be as pigmented as if you were using a flat shader brush. You could do it. And then of course this is really nice to apply color to your crease. And then the last brush I would recommend out of my 5 must-have brushes is an angled brush. This you can use to apply powder product to your brows, of course to do your winged liner and liner in general, and it's also really nice to smudge color onto your lower lash line. So those are the 5 brushes that I would start out with if you're just looking to grow your collection or even start your brush collection. So I really hope this video was helpful. If you have any favorite brushes, leave them down below because there's so many other brands I want to try. One day I am gonna treat myself and get a Wayne Goss brush. I haven't decided which one yet. I kind of want to try the fan brush. I think that one looks really cool, but I would love to read what some of your favorite brushes are. That would also be great for other people looking to build their collection, just to read in the comments. But I hope this video was helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back with a new one very soon.